football game. They're playing against a Marion County team. And my issue isn't so much as about the message as it is politicizing, high school kids. I'm not sure if using minors for your political gain is the best idea ever. I guess if they all sign off on it, it's okay. But it just seems kind of weird to me, to use high school kids as part of a political message. I kind of have a problem with that. I'll be honest with you. I would have a problem if I tried to raise a free market argument by using high school kids to make that argument. I would just feel weird about that. Well, so what happened was at Brainerd High School, the coach says that he was going to raise a silent protest during the national anthem at that particular game by having the kids have their fists over their hearts instead of their hands, their open hand, and their heads would be down during the national anthem. Of course, it's a fist thing they described as a Black Power gesture, I guess would be the right way to put it. They use the phrase Black Power in the article on the TFP, so I assume that is a word or a phrase that he used, not just something they're pulling out of thin air. I hope it is anyway, just for clarity's sake. It's weird. Like, this whole thing is suddenly taking hold all over the country, this whole, Colin Kaepernick type deal. And I get it. I understand the whole, I guess, message of it, if that makes any sense. I just don't, I'm not sure if I understand if it's entirely sincere or just bandwagon jumping, because it seems like a lot of people, and this is true of any political movement, a lot of people want to jump onto the bandwagon to seem cool and hip and with it. Like, look, I'm on the curve, man. I'm with it when it comes to political statements. It's like the ice bucket challenge of politics right now. And it really is controversy profiteering, which is a phrase I coined in the shower the other day. Controversy profiteering, because it's just jumping on something that's controversial for your own personal gain. And I know, you could say that about anyone who does anything political. Obviously, there's some personal gain involved in that. You could say that about any politician or anyone who's ever done anything remotely political. So that may be an unfair thing to say. But I wonder how much of it is true sincerity and how much of it is just, look, I can do that too. And I don't know what it is for this particular Brainerd High School coach. And I'm not putting any accusations against him, right? Like, I think he's a good guy. He seems like he's an honest guy. So I don't know what his motives are, and I don't really care either. I just don't necessarily agree with politicizing high school kids. That just seems a little bit weird to me. Maybe they all signed off on it, and maybe their parents all signed off on it, and that's a whole nother deal. But this whole Colin Kaepernick protest deal with football games is really, really taken off like wildfire, and it seems like it's just going to continue going and going. One article was saying that it might be the rule instead of the exception soon, where all players are going to start doing that. And it might just be something that we all expect somewhere down the line. Is it a passing phase? Maybe, probably, actually. But it's still, it seems uncomfortable to a lot of people. And maybe that is the point. Maybe the point is that it's uncomfortable, right? It pushes against our sensibilities of patriotism and our sensibilities of sort of a mini version of nationalism, where we're all very proud of our country, and we're all very proud of our national anthem. We're all very just proud to be Americans, like the song goes. So when someone disrupts that pride or disrupts that narrative, right, disrupts the motions we go through to show that we are okay with being Americans, it does get very uncomfortable for a lot of people. Me personally, I'm kind of on the fence about it, because I can see both sides, and I guess I just don't care one way or the other, which makes me terrible for being a talk show host in that regard, because I just don't care one way or the other. But this is Best Shot. This is your show here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. Number to call in is 423-800-8949. That's 423-800-8949 is the number to call in here at Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. Recently, the Black Panthers, by the way, to stay with the racial issue, why not? The Black Panthers just a few days ago, 3 days ago, did a march. They marched downtown in, what city was this? Central West Indiana, I'm wanting to say, on Sunday. The march was organized by the Black Panther Party, rather the new Black Panther Party, not the old one, but the new one. And a bunch of young black men were walking downtown in this particular city with guns and machetes drawn. And I understand the message is, we can be African American, right? And we can be armed too. And that's a cool message to have. but it's also kind of a threatening one. Like, is that the image you want to present? Maybe should be the question you want to ask. And I say this too to white people who would do the same thing, right? Like you see Occupy Wall Street in the early days, you saw a bunch of guys who were open carrying. And I understand they have a constitutional right to do that, and I support it 100%. But is that the political narrative you want to push, right? Like, you had better accept us or we'll start shooting you. It seems to be now the conversation we're having. And that's not exactly comforting to people you're trying to negotiate with or trying to have a reasonable discussion with. You had better accept our movement or we might shoot you. It seems a little bit weird. Now, on the other hand, though, and as we talked about on Facebook, they absolutely have a right to carry their guns. They're not being threatening with them directly to any person. They can carry their guns around if they want to. While I don't agree with the Black Panther Party, the new Black Panther Party, or really anything at all that it has to say, other than, people shouldn't be gunned down randomly and the standard stuff, I don't have a problem with them walking around with guns and machetes. That is their constitutional right. It doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. You have a constitutional right to carry around guns if you want to. So that's fine. And we're not talking about the legality of it. We're not talking about the ethicality of it. We're talking about the political message. Is that the political message that you want to push? I don't really think so. And I think that they may be misguided in this. Maybe they need a new PR director. But the march was organized for justice for Darren Seals, who's a young Ferguson activist who was found shot to death inside a burning car last week. And all these protesters were carrying guns. KMOV, the local news station over there, reported that about 50 protesters marched through the streets of central West End, briefly shutting down Euclid, apparently. So, wow. That's a pretty significant deal where they're shutting down roadways with guns and such. They said that they were chanting Black Power, standard stuff. The protest began at about 3:30 p.m. with individuals walking south on Taylor Avenue to Lindell Boulevard before going north on Euclid to Page, where the group disbanded. And none of us are familiar with St. Louis, so we don't need to read all those street names and road names. There we go. It becomes sort of a waste of time at that point. But wow, it's just crazy how things have suddenly escalated. And I don't know if they've suddenly escalated or if things have always been this tense, but it seems like things are becoming more and more tense as time goes by, where issues that were definitely there but we weren't as angry about are now suddenly becoming real. And I think a lot of it does have to do with this sort of controversy profiteering, where you have nonprofits that pop up to profit off of these controversial events. Like, think about Black Lives Matter. Now, Black Lives Matter is a organization. It's a nonprofit, right? Black Lives Matter is not just a Twitter hashtag. It's more than that. It is actually a organization that has board members and has real people behind it. Black Lives Matter is a real entity. And I'm not praising it by any means, but that is what it is. It's a real entity. And there are people who are actually making money off of this whole Black Lives Matter thing. Like, for instance, you see the t-shirts, right? Somebody's making money off of these t-shirts. They're being sold. Now, yeah, it's going to a nonprofit, but it's all a tax write-off. I mean, think about the Clinton Foundation. That's a nonprofit too. So obviously nonprofit doesn't mean not for the gain of someone. We'll put it that way. So obviously there's a lot of money being thrown at these social issues, and it's all about the money. That's the thing with anything ever. You have to follow the money. Where's the money going to? Unfortunately, with things like Black Lives Matter and with things like Femen, right, and all sorts of other protest groups, it's hard to tell where the money's being funneled from. But we know that Femen gets money from George Soros, and that should tell you something. And Black Lives Matter possibly could be getting money from George Soros as well, which wouldn't surprise me. He's a Hungarian-born man who's known for being very, very wealthy. He made a lot of money. I believe he made most of his money off of currency speculation, actually. Kind of odd. Speaking of currency, by the way, have you seen the news about Deutsche Bank and how it's not doing too well at all, as in might be crashing soon? Deutsche Bank just took a massive, massive hit here recently, just in the last few hours, and stocks have now suffered an unprecedented volatility shock. Americans have seen the current economic conditions as worse in 11 months, as inflation expectations are plunging now, and Deutsche Bank is possibly crumbling. So all these things are sort of stacking up on each other. That's leading to what very well could be the new economic crisis, which we're seeing now heading right into the new election season. We're seeing this heading into the new presidency, whoever it's going to be, because Obama's not going to be president again. We can be reasonably certain of that. Obama's not going to be the president again. So whoever has to handle this whole economic crisis is going to be a new president. So it's hard to predict what new presidents are going to do. With an economic crisis, we can be reasonably assured that Donald Trump would be decent at handling an economic crisis because he's a business guy and business guys know money. And even Hillary Clinton has experience with maintaining finances. So I might say that even she wouldn't be horrible at handling the whole financial crisis if there were another one to spring. The problem is, I'm afraid that Hillary Clinton might try to use that as an opportunity to make her friends very rich, her and herself and her friends very rich. If you looked at the Democratic National Committee leaks, it was all very interesting. I don't know if you saw it or not, but it was very, very telling. Just recently, the Democratic National Committee had all of its emails leaked online by what they're calling Guccifer 2.0 at first, and now they say it was Russian hackers, which I guess is meant to discredit the message that's in the Democratic National Committee emails. I don't know. It's all very ridiculous because they're trying to damage control everything. And also, by the way, with Colin Powell's leaked emails, we saw that Israel has 200 nuclear bombs, which means it's actually illegal for us to donate money to them, which is interesting. It's sort of one of those open secrets. They're not supposed to have nuclear weapons, but they do, and that might actually be illegal. Go figure. Well, anyway, what's currently happening with the Democratic National Committee emails is it's all sort of being compiled into one. What's the word for it? Those things that are you put them together in like Microsoft Office spreadsheet. There we go. One big spreadsheet of the donor list. Yeah, the donor list has been leaked too, by the way. And the people who've donated the most to the Democratic National Committee have, interestingly enough, managed to get to be ambassadors to different countries. Now, isn't that strange? So it seems that if you donate enough money to the Hillary Foundation, the Clinton Foundation, and to the Democratic National Committee, you could yourself become an ambassador. So all you need to do is give email money and you can be an ambassador too. Great. And when the Clinton Foundation got hacked with its emails, they put out, and I mean they emailed out a new password. So that's like if you're being spied on and you say, well, hold on, I think we're being spied on. Let's move to this room. And you all move to the next room and the spy goes with you. That's basically what happened here. They said, oh no, our emails have been hacked. Here's our new password. And they emailed out the new password, which they said is going to change weekly. But even so, if you've got access to the email server, now you know the new password. It's ridiculous. It's like a joke. The Clinton Foundation and the Democratic National Committee is like a big joke in terms of security. If they can't handle security for themselves, how do we expect them to handle security for the country, right? Now, as far as I know, there have been no Republican Party leaks, and I would expect them to be just as bad as the Democratic leaks, personally. But still, it's ridiculous to me how these people are so stupid. They're so inept with almost everything, and yet we're somehow supposed to expect them to do a good job leading the country. How is that supposed to happen, I would ask you? How are we supposed to expect that these people are going to do a good job at much of anything when they can't even handle their own security? I mean, come on, people. What's going on here? It seems like it's all about money with them. And it is, because they're politicians. It's always about money with politicians. It's almost universally about money with politicians. That's why lobbying and PACs are things. Politics is a big, dirty mess, and we all kind of know it, but it seems like it just gets worse and worse as time goes by. And they're more and more open and blatant about it. For instance, this whole email leak thing, if this came out in the 70s, they'd have Clinton's head on a stake, theoretically speaking, hypothetically speaking. But for some reason nowadays, we don't care. Like Clinton is possibly the dirtiest politician I've ever seen in my life, next to like Anthony Weiner or what's his name, de Blasio. Not de Blasio, he's dirty too, but the guy who tried to sell his Senate seat to somebody, and I forget his name, Rod somethingevich. Gaboyevich or something like that. Anyway, he's the guy who tried to sell his Senate seat. It was just crazy stuff. Absolutely insane stuff. That if this happened 20 years ago, there'd be riots. But for some reason, it happens today, and we're just sort of expecting it. And maybe that shows how bad American politics are today, where we are just okay with people who do horrible, atrocious things because it's just to be expected. We expect politicians to do horrible, atrocious things, so we don't really think anything of it when it does happen. It's crazy. Like, I think that America might actually be full of nutty, insane people because we keep electing these nutty, insane people. Like, we're electing wolves to guard the sheep, so to speak, and we keep doing it year after year. Now, you're probably saying, well, we don't have an option, and you're right, because it's a two-party system. It's a two-party system. So what do you do? Well, I don't know at that point. Maybe instead we should focus on what's happening locally instead of nationally, because if you think about it, local municipalities have elected in third parties all the time. Look at New Hampshire with the Free State Project, right? Where they've almost got New Hampshire entirely libertarian controlled. It's pretty crazy over there in New Hampshire. There are no seatbelt laws. You can carry guns all over the place. I think weed's legal because it's New Hampshire. I mean, it's crazy stuff. But at a local level, they managed to solve a lot of their problems up at the top. So obviously, the Free State Project shows that it's somewhat that can, to some degree, this is possible. So why couldn't it happen here in Tennessee? On a local level, we start electing people who are actually moral, actually ethical, actually godly, and then they work their way up to the top. That would be sort of a reconstruction of government, I suppose, but it could happen. It is feasible. It's something that is a real possibility. See, we keep distracting ourselves with the presidential election, and we convince ourselves that the presidential election is the end-all, be-all. And this one, I will admit, is pretty important. This presidential election does seem to be a rather important one. It does seem to be a pivoting point, a turning point. Like Romney versus Obama, Romney was basically the same guy as Obama. Like Romney and Obama weren't that different. There was Romney care and there was Obamacare. It was going to be one or the other. And Romney was such a boring person. I can't imagine him handling much of anything well. And he's the guy who's behind trying to stop Donald Trump from getting the Republican nomination because, heaven forbid, the will of the people happen within your own party, right? He's one of those guys who's, the knowing grandpa who sits in his chair and leads everything in the family. That's sort of Mitt Romney. Everyone goes to Mitt Romney when they're going to run for any sort of office in the Republican Party. So I don't trust Mitt Romney, and I'm glad he didn't get elected because I think, honestly, we would have been worse off with Romney than we are with Obama now. Romney, I think, probably would have put us in more wars than Obama has. So that's good that Romney didn't get elected, but I don't know. It's a whole mess. But Clinton versus Trump, you couldn't have two more different people. You couldn't have two people be more different, right? Trump is a very outspoken, slightly egomaniacal person who's very open about his beliefs. He's rather transparent about what he thinks about things. But Clinton seems to be a little bit more devious than he is. Clinton seems to be, if you put it on the scale, Clinton seems to be like lawful evil, while Trump seems to be chaotic good, if you want to put it on that scale. And I think that that's pretty accurate, actually. Because Trump is chaotic, but I don't think he's an evil guy. Clinton is also chaotic, but she's very lawful, right? Everything is by the book with Clinton. Her own book, obviously, but everything is by the book with Clinton. But she seems to be just downright evil. She might be wearing leg braces and she might be wearing hip braces and all sorts of things. When she was collapsing into that van, you probably saw that video. It's been all over the news. She was at the 9/11 memorial in New York. And when she was collapsing into her van, the Secret Service agents or her security guards or whoever they are had to literally pick her up by her arms and drag her into the van. She fainted there. And then they said she had pneumonia. Well, actually, they said that she had, heat stroke. She fainted. And then they're like, well, she's got pneumonia. Now, when you have pneumonia, and any medical professional can tell you this, when you have pneumonia, it's a pretty big deal because pneumonia affects you in a autoimmune sort of way. When you have pneumonia, you are very compromised in a lot of ways. And when you have pneumonia, you don't just go out and do things. You're basically bedridden for several weeks. I don't think Clinton has pneumonia, but then Bill Clinton said she had the flu. So does she have the flu or does she have pneumonia or did she just faint? What's the official story? Because now there are 3 official statements. So we have to go by the most recent one, which is Bill Clinton saying she had the flu. Now, if anyone should know what Hillary Clinton has, it should be her husband, right? Bill Clinton ought to know what's wrong with Clinton. Maybe he doesn't spend enough time with her, though. With Hillary, actually. They're both Clintons. Maybe Bill should know what's wrong with Hillary, but maybe he doesn't spend enough time with Hillary to know. He was campaigning for her after all. He's busy. He's a busy guy. He's got a lot of stuff to do, and he's not looking too good himself either. What's going on with this whole Clinton dynamic? It seems like there's so much deception going on. How can we trust her to be president when there's all this deception going on? I don't understand. She doesn't seem to be fit to be someone who can rule if she's going to have coughing fits all the time at every public event. That doesn't paint a very good image of the country if you go to a foreign country and speak and you can't get 2 words out because you're still coughing all the time. That doesn't present a very good image of the country. And maybe that's why the Democratic Party might be looking at replacing her with someone else. Maybe Bernie Sanders. Ironically, Bernie Sanders seems to be in better health than Clinton is. What's going on? I don't know. This is Best Shot here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, hotnewstalkradio.com. Check us out on the TuneIn Radio app and go to noogaradio.com to listen online. We're also streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube right now.
Hot News Talk 1240, AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio, with your chance to win $124 in cash and $124 in food every week with the Hot News Talk Radio 1, 2, 3 NASCAR contest. Hot News Talk 1240. All you have to do is guess who's going to be first, second, and third place in the upcoming NASCAR Sprint Cup race. If you guess it, you'll hear your name live Monday morning at 11:30. Then call AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio to win. Enter your guess right now at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. Diesel Off-Road Technology Soddy Daisy for your four-wheel drive and truck needs. Stuff and upholstery with premium rubber foam. Amigos Mexican Restaurant next to Staples and Hickson. Drink specials during the race. Cell Surgeon, the Broken Screen Doc. And Shooter's Supply, 4824 Hickson Pike in Hickson. Hot News Talk 1240. Enter your guesses now and then listen to the race live to win $124 in cash and $124 in food from Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Hot News Talk 1240. I love NASCAR.
Hot 1240, Hot News Talk Radio with your Hot News Now update. A Colin Kaepernick-inspired protest has been canceled by the coach of the Brainerd High School football team after threats of firing by one of the county commissioners. The players were originally going to have their fists over their hearts and their heads bowed during the national anthem. Talking about schools, the search for the new superintendent of schools in Hamilton County has been put on hold again. School board members voted 5-4 last night to put off on hiring a search firm for viable candidates. So now Dr. Cupelli will continue to serve as the interim head, possibly into the year 2017. A man was pierced by bullets while perusing Grand Avenue near West 42nd Street late Wednesday morning. He was taken to the hospital by an ambulance. The suspect described as a black male with dreadlocks. And don't forget, you can get us on the TuneIn Radio app on your smartphone anywhere in the world. Watch our exclusive live streams on Facebook as well. Get us on YouTube. You can watch our live streams there, too. If it's going on in the Tennessee Valley, it's going on Hot 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
We're at the Cantina at Amigos Mexican Restaurant. Yes, sir. 2 orders of nachos with beef and beans, 2 beers. Chattanooga loves its Amigos restaurants, but the Amigos in Hickson has something extra. NASCAR, every race. How about a house wine? Really good. Big name beers, just tell Maria what you want. And here at Amigos, margaritas are popular, and it's only $3 all day. If you come here on a race day, Sunday, a Natty Light is only $2.25. Here at Amigos, just during NASCAR, Natty Light, $2.25. Amigos Mexican Restaurant in Hickson. The happy hour is 3 to 9 today and every day. I'd say the atmosphere is festive. Look at that huge TV. It's like being amid the fans under a bright sun, but no gasoline fumes, no heat. Stay cool. Quench your thirst. Amigos between Staples and Hobby Lobby. Take the next table to mine. Enjoy the NASCAR race with friend or family here at the Cantina at Amigos Mexican Restaurant. Okay, get started.
Drivers, start your engines.
Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis has the cash. Need Labor Day cash? Rick Davis will give you top dollar for your gold, silver, diamonds, and coins. You'll get international prices. It's like he's giving away money. Labor Day cash and top dollar for your gold, silver, diamonds, and coins. There he goes. More cash out the door from Rick. Need Labor Day cash? Rick Davis will give you top dollar. Top dollar for your gold, silver, diamonds, and coins. Cash, 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 and more cash. Rick Davis has the cash and diamonds. Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds. 5301 Brainerd Road. You know where it is.
Rubber's tough, but foam rubber is soft.
Foam rubber is the star at Stuff It Upholstery, which uses it to revive your couch, your embarrassing easy chair, your boat seat cushions. Stuff It foam rubber in Hickson covers Chattanooga and surrounding areas. Don't throw out that favorite easy chair that's grown haggard and barbaric. New life for your seat cushions. Premium auto-grade rubber foam for your restaurant, church, or business. Stuff It Upholstery brings comfort and relief. Go ahead, skid away from flat, dull, and droopy cushions. Relax, restore, revive. When comfort matters, stuff it. Mention Monica Lewinsky. Get 10 cents off on the dollar. 877-1616. That's 877-1616.
Hi, this is Mike at Wholesale Liquidation, Highway 58, next to Taco Bell, featuring over 6,000 square feet of unique and everyday wholesale items discounted at, get this, 50 to 75% off of retail, from new and pre-owned tools to chainsaws and auto accessories. Wholesale Liquidation, Highway 58, next to Taco Bell.
Here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's got third. He's going for second. Earnhardt going for the lead.
The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series is on the Motor Racing Network.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Hear it live on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check it out live on Chattanooga's official NASCAR radio station. Fox News Talk 1240.
There are now a lot of questions about what exactly is going on with Hillary Clinton's health. And it seems like we'll never actually know what's going on with Clinton's health because, you see, that's an issue of national security. No, I'm kidding. I don't know, actually. If you look at it, though, like, for instance, I'm on Google News right now, just news.google.com, good old Google. If you just do a quick search for Clinton and health, you get about, oh gosh, how many results do I have? There's a lot of results here just on the first page. Some of them are going back as far as yesterday. There are a lot of articles being written about what exactly is happening with Hillary Clinton. We don't know. And that's maybe the problem. Now, she has, I would say, no obligation to tell us what's going on, but it would definitely help us to know exactly what's happening with her health. And, you know, it's funny, you see a lot of the statements that come out from different talk show hosts where they talk about how, you know, oh, we're worried about Clinton. We're worried about her health. We want her to get better, yada, yada. You know, it's not true. You know, like they talk about how benevolent they are and how, oh, we wish Clinton would get better. We feel so bad for her. But deep down, everyone's kind of wishing that, you know, she doesn't, it seems. And I guess I understand that sentiment because it seems like it would make for a much more interesting election if she had to drop out as a result of her health. And I'm not talking about her getting some fatal disease, but I mean, she's sick enough that she has to drop out. That would be interesting, and that would make for a way more interesting election. And the Democrats, and I'm not rooting for the Democrats by any means, but the Democrats might actually have a chance if someone like Bernie Sanders were to suddenly jump in running now, because he has the momentum. People actually want him to run. And I'm not a socialist. I'm not rooting for Bernie Sanders by any stretch of the imagination. I don't like Bernie Sanders. I think he's a social commie. I don't like him. He's an old school communist. He's straight out of Russia, right? I don't like the guy. I should say I like him personally. I think he's a good guy. But I don't like his politics at all. He's very red. He's way too red for me. And I don't mean that in the Democratic way or the Republican way, I should say. He's way too red for me. But look at the articles. All the different speculations. Number one here from The Atlantic, how Bernie Sanders diehards are echoing Clinton conspiracy theories. Number two here from Huffington Post, a very liberal establishment, Huffington Post. Uncertainty about Hillary Clinton's health is on the rise, poll finds. Yeah, because we want to know. So this whole thing came from her coughing so much. She started coughing a lot kind of out of nowhere. And it was weird. It was bizarre. And it seemed like she had some sort of respiratory issue. It seemed like Clinton was having some kind of respiratory problem. And that obviously is not good for her health. It's not good for anyone to have a problem such as that. But if you're a president and you are running for election, right? Sorry, if you're president and you are going to different countries and you've already run for election, you don't need to do that again. You're going to different countries and you're talking to different people, right? And you're being an official, which is what a president does. And suddenly, for some reason, you start having a coughing fit. That doesn't look too good. Now, other presidents have had issues with that, I will admit. And I'm not defending Republicans or Democrats or anything like that. I'm nonpartisan in a lot of ways. It doesn't make me better than anybody else. It just means I think a little bit differently, and that we all do. And that's okay. George Bush Sr. famously had the puking incident in Japan. And when he was running for re-election, that was a whole big deal. They had to hide photos that looked anything like him puking in Japan. They didn't even talk about that incident. It was a huge PR nightmare for the George Bush Sr. Campaign and for the George Bush Sr. Cabinet. And everything regarding George Bush Sr. was now thrown out the window and ruined because of the whole puking incident in Japan. It was a big deal. George W. Bush, had the incident with the pretzel. He choked on a pretzel. People do dumb stuff. And people choke on things. I've choked on things, certainly. But it's, especially my own words. But it seems like it just, like with Clinton, it seems like it's not just a one-off thing. It's like she's actually in dire trouble here with the whole health thing. Because you saw the video where she's coughing constantly. She has to drink water. She's got to stop for a long time to keep coughing. That's not indicative to me of allergies or anything like that. That's indicative to me of an actual real health problem. A real health issue, not just, well, I have allergies and I forgot to take my antihistamines today. I mean, that happens, but every time you have a speech, I don't think so. Come on. And then you saw the video of her drinking and you see like some odd thing comes out of her mouth and drops into the glass. You see that? It was weird. Was it light reflecting strangely? Maybe, but it still looked weird and it's not good for a campaign. That's for sure. Well, now these new articles are coming out about her fainting. Did you see the video? She just fainted walking to her car. Her Secret Service people had to hold her up by her arms. They had to drag her in. Did you see? They had to drag her into the car. That doesn't look good. If you're someone running for president and you faint out of nowhere, that's not good at all. That doesn't look good for your campaign. And it definitely doesn't look good for you as a potential future president. And I think a lot of people, even Democrats now, are starting to become kind of skeptical about, is she fit to run? I think that Clinton, just speaking purely objectively, does she have the mental capacity to be president? Yeah, it seems that way. I don't think she'd be a good president. I don't think that she would be a president I would ever agree with. I wouldn't vote for her. But is she capable of being president? Yeah. Like she seems like she's mostly mentally all there for the most part. But is she physically capable of being president? That's the question. And she's getting on in years. Let's see. How old is she? You can find these things out with quick Google searches. Hillary Clinton age. So how old is Hillary Clinton is the question that we are asking. And how old will she be in 8 years? She is currently 68 years old. She's not looking too good for being 68 years old. We've got a caller on the line. Caller, you're live on the air on Best Shot. What's going on?
Yeah, we certainly don't want her vice presidential running mate becoming president.
Oh, gosh.
I think people are missing the point. This election is not about Trump and Hillary. This is about the control of resources, as evidenced by the fact that the rhinos, Lindsey Graham, George Bush, nitwit Mitt Romney, all support Hillary because behind the scenes, there's very little difference between a Republican and Democrat. They've been conning this nation for years. The one lets the other one win the presidency, then the Republican wins the presidency, then the Democrat. But the only thing that changes is the American people get deeper and deeper in debt and more controlled by their federal masters. It's about controlling trillions of dollars, the resources, the fraud that goes hand in hand with bribes. This whole nation, these politicians go in sometimes poor and end up wealthy. This is about controlling resources. Who's going to give me what? That's why no one should ever be allowed to vote that has an interest in receiving any money whatsoever from the government. Because if you receive money from the government, if you're bound by them, if somehow you're dependent upon them, you're only going to vote selfishly for the person to give you money. I can tell you this, Russell. If Hillary were to mow down 1,000 people today in Times Square with a machine gun, liberal Democrats would still support her because they don't want to lose those resources. Trump scares them. He scares everybody in Washington because he has no allegiance to them. He's never run for anything. He scares them. Remember something. When Barack and St. Obama or Hillary goes on TV and talks about what they're going to do, what they mean is, I'm going to steal your resources and redistribute it. I'm going to compel someone to do something because they've never created a job. Think about that. Hillary Clinton has never made a payroll. Never met a payroll. She's never created anything, and neither has Barack Obama. Democrats, liberals, socialists, and progressives are criminals. They are no different than somebody that would stick a gun in your belly and steal your money. They are foul, pig criminals and deserve never to be voted for. If I was married to one, I would divorce them. Any one of my family members that are Democrat, I don't deal with. I don't surround myself with slime balls. And anyone that votes for a Democrat or a liberal, in my opinion, is a slime ball. So why would I want to be with a slime ball? Their stink will attach to me.
Wow. And, when it comes down to it, when you think about it, the whole issue with Democrats is they are people who declare that you are not fit to determine how your money should be spent when it comes right down to it.
Yeah, and rhinos, and I'd say 80% of the Republicans do. What
Sure.
cracks me up is the issue of aborticide, which is the murdering of unborn children, which they call abortion. We want you out of our lives. This is our choice. A man with a pecker wearing a dress walking into my little girl's bathroom. We want choice. They all want choice until it comes down to your money. See, they don't want you to choose, for you to choose what to do with your money, to keep it. Oh, no, you got to pay your fair share. So everything's about choice for these people until it comes down to you choosing to do what you want with your money. Because if you can control the money that government takes in, you can control its size. So they're all about choice until it comes to you controlling your resources. Then they're no longer talking about choice, freedom of choice. If they're so into freedom of choice, why don't you go to work for one of them? And I can't imagine a Democrat running any business, but saying, I want to choose not to have taxes taken out of my paycheck. I want to choose not to have a social security number. I want to choose not to have a driver's license. I want to choose not to have registration. I want to choose not to have health care. I want to choose not to have car insurance. I want to choose not to be seen by everyone with these cameras at every single stop sign or traffic signal. I want to choose to be free. I want to choose to make my choices. They'll go, we can't do that. No. We have to have these rules and regulations. I want to choose to swim with the dolphins. I want to choose to touch the manatees. Oh, no. We can't do, no. You see, the left is not about choice. The left is about slavery. All you have to do is Google the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. America has been occupied for many years, 100 years now, and it's getting worse. We are under Marxist occupation. I don't see this election changing much. I don't know that anything short of the treasonists, the occupiers, hanging at the end of a rope is going to change anything. But I can tell you this, if there isn't some change and someone like Trump isn't elected, the left will lose all of their power because the right will refuse to comply. Our answer to every one of their edicts will be no. Everything they demand of us will be no. We're not getting your licenses, your registrations, your permissions, your privileges. And when you ask us for money, we're going to say no.
That would be a shakeup. Jeez.
They need to be careful what they ask for because the only thing that's going to save them, and they don't know this, is Donald Trump. Because if Hillary gets in, the ball game's over, buddy. Lights out. And they don't quite get that yet. But it's called unintended consequences. They should be voting Trump. Because, as I said, those unintended consequences are going to give them a sore rear end.
Well, it reminds me of when Obama was elected, and that was the best thing that ever happened for the Republican Party in a lot of ways because they gave them more strength than anything. They won the Senate and the House.
Yeah, but it didn't mean anything because the people that won the Senate and the House were just another bunch of liberals anyway. George Bush is a liberal. He's a socialist. His daddy's a socialist.
Sure.
The last real conservative we had in was Ronald Reagan. Before that, I don't remember. Maybe Thomas Jefferson.
Probably Thomas Jefferson, yeah.
This country has been filled with a bunch of collectivist, socialist, Marxist liberals. We can go look at all the people that start wars. Who started all the wars? Wasn't it Republicans? We can go to let's go to Eisenhower. Let's go to Johnson. Let's go to Kennedy. Back to Bill Clinton. George Bush, the liberal George Bush. He's not a Republican. He's a liberal Democrat. He grew government more than Clinton.
True.
And Obama.
Well, look at Bush. Look at George W. Bush with Homeland Security, right?
Homeland Security. Look at the Democrats that claim to love peace. when they really love war and bloodshed.
It's peace as long as you agree with them constantly.
They love war and bloodshed so much. Under the guise of equality, they will send your daughter to fight.
Seriously.
And die. That's how much they love war and bloodshed. They're the biggest bunch of phony hypocrites, and they stink. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Caller very angry about Democrats, just as most Americans are, but he's a little bit better at articulating than I think a lot of Americans are. He really puts out the anger of a lot of Americans, how they feel about the current election, and it's not going too well. What's going on right now politically is it's a big mess. And I think that he's right, though, about Trump being good for the Democrats because, like I was saying, when you think about, imagine if all the Republicans, for instance, who ran for Senate and House when Obama was president, imagine if they were actually conservative. We could have actually gotten something done, but, they weren't, so we didn't. But if they were, it would have been a massive sweep. It would have been great, but they weren't, so it wasn't. Well, again, think about when Clinton was president and the House was controlled, the House and Senate were controlled by, again, Republicans. So it seems like it's sort of an opposites thing. You have a Democratic president, you're going to have a Republican House and Senate, and vice versa. So it's interesting. Maybe Donald Trump can create the outrage that the liberals need, the Democrats need to sweep the House and Senate yet again. That's probably likely, actually, because they're going to say, you got to elect a Democrat to hold him back in the House and the Senate. That seems pretty likely to me, actually. So that's an interesting way of interesting take on it. It reminds me, too, of how Barack Obama was great for the gun industry. People talk about Barack Obama and how, look at the gun control stuff, but he really didn't do much in terms of gun control. In fact, gun control has gotten better under Obama. And that's not because of him necessarily. That's just because of the gun industry charging forward. With the gun industry, though, there was so much fear about guns being banned, different types of guns being banned, that the guns got bought up like a lot. And because of that now, the gun industry is thriving. And it'll probably be doing better under Trump, unless there's a Democratic majority in the House and Senate, which will vote down or will vote up any sort of gun legislation that'll make it so you can only have, 10-round capacity magazines and no semi-automatic weapons, or handgun carry permits are now nullified by the federal government. All sorts of other things could happen, but are also unlikely to, because they're all getting money from the NRA. So that's a good thing, I suppose, because I like guns quite a bit and I don't want them to go away. I want there to be more of them, actually. More innovation in the gun market would be definitely a good thing, because we're sort of stagnant right now. Everything's just an AR clone or an AR-18 clone or an AK-74 or something like this. It's just, come on, guys, build some better, more interesting guns. We haven't reached the peak of gun design yet. It's just we don't have innovative people who are making good guns yet. Oh, well. Anyway, no, it's all very interesting, and Clinton's health is definitely something that needs to be looked at, and it is being looked at, but I think it needs to be looked at with a more critical eye, more medically minded eye. Because my thinking is this: if Clinton can't get through a speech without coughing her lungs out, how's she going to look as president? If Clinton can't get through one single speech without coughing her lungs out, she's not going to look very good before, say, Russia or Iran. She's not going to look very strong when Iran's looking at America saying, look, they've got a woman president, which to the Iranians, they're very sexist. To the Iranians, they're going to say, well, that's a sign of weakness already, even though it's not necessarily. Carly Fiorina would have been a strong president, probably. She's not a very good CEO of HP, but she may have been a strong president. I don't think she would have been weak. Clinton, I don't know. She looks frail. She acts frail. It doesn't work for her. And her voice is giving out, all these other things. And the lies, too, definitely don't help her cause. The lies are not helping at all. Where first, when she fainted, when she had to be dragged into that van by her security people, when that first happened, they said that I believe they said just she fainted because it was hot out. It was like 81 degrees in New York, so it was hot and she fainted. Ooh. But then they say that she has pneumonia. Now, pneumonia is a very, very serious illness. Pneumonia is indicative of a lot of other things autoimmune-wise that are very dangerous. You can die when you get pneumonia. I don't care how old you are. You can die when you get pneumonia. And when you're 68, that risk is through the roof. So if she really did have pneumonia, that's a big deal. But then Bill Clinton, her husband, says that she had the flu. Now, the flu is not as big of a deal, depending on what kind of flu, because the flu is not like a unified entity. But the flu is a bad thing to get, and it can also kill you if you're 68 years old and frail. Here's something to think about. If Hillary Clinton looks bad now, how will she look when she's 76? She's 68 right now. How will she look when she's 76? Probably not too good. I mean, most 76-year-olds don't look very good. Most 76-year-olds are not very physically capable. When I'm 76, I'll probably be using a walker and I'll have to crawl to the fridge. Like when I'm 76, I'm not going to be looking very good at all. I don't look very good now, so I'm definitely not going to look very good when I'm 76. That's just the nature of things, and that's okay. But she, at her current state, she was pretty healthy not too long ago, but now it seems like she's getting worse and worse. If she continues, imagine if this is a curve, and at 76, she's even worse, exponentially possibly worse. We could have a president who dies in office. That's not good, because then you have, what's his name, Kaine, who's in office. Tim Kaine. That's not good. And you notice nobody talks about him. It's always Clinton. With Trump, it's Trump-Pence, right? Like, we know about Mike Pence. We know he's a thing. We know what he thinks. We know what he is. With Clinton, who knows what Tim Kaine thinks? I don't. Maybe it's because I only listen to conservative media. That could be it. That's certainly a possibility. I might be biased. But I don't know what Tim Kaine thinks about anything. I really don't. It reminds me of Joe Biden, Obama Biden. You didn't really hear much at all about Joe Biden or what he thought about things or who he was. The only reason we knew anything about him is because he was a senator before. A creepy one at that. And that's it. Clinton's not doing too well with her campaign here, and things are getting worse and worse, especially with the leaks that have come out where it looks like you have to spend money to be an ambassador. If you look at the Clinton Foundation donation list, people who, okay, let me word this correctly so I don't screw things up. People who have donated a lot of money to the Clinton Foundation are miraculously now also ambassadors. Now, how is that happening, I would ask you? Maybe there's a correlation there between giving lots of money and also being, say, an ambassador. Odd, right? Maybe there's some correlation there. Maybe money is what's driving politics. Now, that's a weird thought, isn't it? Money driving politics? Ha! That hasn't happened in years. It's like how fixing a game in baseball hasn't happened since the Black Sox in the 20s. Yeah, right, buddy. We'll just believe that. I think politics are a lot of the same way. Like, we think about Watergate, what a huge scandal that was. That's nothing compared to what's happening now. With Watergate, these days, Watergate could happen to Obama. He'd still be in office. Watergate could happen to Clinton. She'd still be in office. Watergate could have happened to Bush, and he would still be in office. Think about that. That's crazy. But back in the 70s, at least people had a backbone that kicked the guy out of office, right? Like, people will be very harsh with Nixon, but nowadays it seems like we just don't care what anyone does. The president screws up majorly. Who cares? The Clinton, the president has a whole thing with drone strikes in Yemen. Whatever. Drone strikes in Yemen kill a whole village full of children. Whatever. Not a big deal. That's a big deal. But we don't seem to care about it because it's not politically correct to care about it, I guess. Since when is it not politically correct to care about kids? I care about kids. I don't want more kids to die. I don't want more war. And it seems if we continue on this trend, we're going to have another war if Clinton gets elected. Look at how she's pushed for the war in Libya, right? She pushed for war in Libya. She pushed for the ousting of Muammar Gaddafi for next to no reason, because Muammar Gaddafi, while, yeah, he's not the best guy ever, he supplied arms to the IRA in the form of AR-18s. That's not very good. But is he presently, or was he at the time, the biggest threat to American security ever? No. He was actually holding at bay a lot of African interests from getting into the Middle East, and now that floodgate's open. Now you have a lot of refugees, or, refugees, quote unquote. There are real refugees, but there are also a lot of quote unquote refugees who are moving from Africa through Libya into the Middle East and then into Europe. Now, maybe, just maybe, if Gaddafi was still in office in Libya, that wouldn't be happening. Weird thought, right? It's almost like it all plays into one big plan. Now, that sounds crazy conspiracy theory, I know. But it could be what's going on. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? But the world is crazy. That's the thing. You talk about crazy theories. You talk about, that couldn't happen because it's too nuts. The world is a crazy, weird, dangerous place. And it's only going to get worse from here. Or maybe better, depending on your perspective. I think the crazier it is, the better it is, because at least be interesting. This is Best Shot here on Hot News Talk Radio. Thanks for watching. And thanks for watching on Facebook, by the way. Live streaming here on Facebook, Hot News Talk Radio, and on YouTube. AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. Colin Cowherd, one of the best sports shows ever, coming up next here on Hot News Talk Radio. Thank you.